Imagine for a moment the early days of the internet, when a simple, easily remembered password like 12345, your name or your birthday, was considered enough to be secure. Your online accounts. How times have changed. Today, as cyber threats evolve and hackers become more sophisticated, those simple passwords just don't cut it anymore. Here to guide us through the exciting future of digital identity protection is Sorin Manole, Head of Product Research and Development at Nordpass. Sorin will explore why the era of passwords is coming to an end and introduce us to the innovative alternatives that will replace them in the future. So, Sorin Manole, the stage is yours. Welcome.
Right. Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying IFA, even though it's a bit of a rainy day today. There's so much innovation around us happening these days that I decided to do a bit of the opposite for the next few minutes. I want to take you to a trip down the memory lane. So I must confess to begin with that sometimes I just find myself buying old phones from eBay, like Motorola Razr I bought recently because I just love the iconic design. I also bought a BlackBerry just to feel again the iconic keyboard, the feeling. But needless to say, after like a few days, one day it goes back to the phone drawer, and I go back to user convenience and modern technology, right? So yeah, who doesn't have these nostalgic trips from time to time? If we think about like VHS, MP3, CDs, all these moments are etched in our collective memory. So let's start with an interactive survey. So I would like you to scan this QR code. It will lead you to slido.com. So you're going to see a screen where you can answer this question. What's one old gadget that you can't get, like you still use and cannot let go of? So yeah, I will do it also. You're going to see the answers on your device, not on the big screen. So let's do that. All right, so we already see some answers coming in. MP3, iPod, Kindle, analog watch, vinyl record, pinball machine, very nice. Kettle, oh, kettle, I didn't think that it's like a vintage already. Nice, so that's actually, I have personally also a vinyl collection, and I understand. I like listening to vinyls from time to time. I don't do. I don't do. Right, Game Boy, EarPods. Kindle is getting a lot. I'm actually using a Kindle, so I understand this. I actually love to use all devices. They're just for a specific purpose. Right, so as you see, like fax. Wow, that's a really old one. You see, like we have all these gadgets, like when they were basically invented, you know, they were kind of big revolutions. IFA is 100 years. We celebrate 100 of IFA this year. And at IFA, we saw all this technology evolve, like, from video stores to streaming, from MP3s to playlists in the cloud, right? But actually, there was already a hint in the answers. You know what actually still stays with us for all these years and the constant companion of our digital lives? The password. So before diving any deeper, let me introduce myself. My name is Sorin Manole. I'm head of product R&D at Nordpass. Nordpass is a password manager, and it is being used by individuals and businesses globally. It is part of Nord Security, and Nord Security is a Lithuanian company, cybersecurity company. We have a range of products from NordVPN to Nord Layer, Nord Locker, and more recently Nord Stellar and Autopia. It is headquartered in Vilnius. We operate in 26 countries, but also we have an office here in Berlin, which I am part of. I personally think as part of my job of passwords every single day, working in a password manager. So I know how frustrating they can be, right? Like the length is too short, your password is too weak, your password has expired, or all too common scenario, did you forget your password, which nowadays is kind of a way of asking you, do you want to log in? Yeah, but how did we get here? Well, passwords in their most primitive form, they have been with us for ages, right? So Roman soldiers, they use watch phrases to identify who is a friend or who is an enemy. Medieval, like guards in medieval castles, they use passwords or pass phrases also to allow entry or not, right? Fast forward to 1971, the MIT researchers have introduced the first digital password, a computer password, which was used to access a computer and access some files. Like owning a black TV, yeah, it was a marvel of those times, but actually the first computer password was the beginning of something much bigger. If we move forward in time, the TV gets an upgrade, it gets color. Also the password around the 1970s, it gets encrypted. So until then, the passwords were just sitting around in databases in plain text for anyone to actually read. But we quickly understood that there are people around us with bad intentions, that they can use those passwords for nefarious purposes. So that's why we decided to encrypt them. At that time, it was quite a huge leap in terms of security. But it didn't take long until the first hackers found ways to crack those encrypted passwords. Right, moving forward in time, the TVs gets flat, and also the passwords gets a big upgrade. It's something that we call MFA, which stands for multi-factor authentication. And it became very popular late 90s, early 2000, and it's still being used massively today. Well, it did add an extra layer of security because now instead of relying on something that we know, which is the password, we also rely on something that you have, which is a device or a one-time code, and something that you are, which can be biometrics, right? It's promising in itself, technology, however, it brings complexity. So it's not so easy to log in with MFA as it's as easy to log in the passwords. And that's one of the reasons why the acceptance rate amongst users is quite low. Another reason why the acceptance rate is not so high is because different companies have different implementations, which means that it's not a standard way of doing MFA, and every time you go to a website or an app, you have a different experience. And as a user, that can be tiring, that every time you need to learn a new type of behavior, right? Also, in terms of security, the hackers have found ways to bypass MFA, for example, through MFA bombing, where your device is being bombed with notifications until you accept out of frustration the login attempts. Or there are also cases reported in the case of biometrics, where hackers they managed to bypass a face recognition, authentication, with a 3D printed mask. Or also they recreated the fingerprint from a single photograph. Well, I must stress here that the technology has advanced quite a lot lately, and it's continually advancing with new biometric sensors and machine learning. So biometrics are actually becoming more secure every single day. Right. So we saw like the black TV went through a transformation from black and white to color to flat screen, yeah, but it's still a TV at the end of the day. Same as the password went through all this evolution from encrypted to MFA, but it's still a password. We didn't manage to take the problem out. The core problem is still the password. And why do we call it a problem, right? Why the password is a problem? Well, we need to look at it from two angles. The first angle is the humans. Yeah. The passwords are being used and created by humans, and we are creatures of habits. We tend to reuse the same password, so we create one password, and we reuse it on all our websites and apps. That leads to a domino effect. If one of your websites is being hacked or breached, then the hackers can use that password and they can log into all of your accounts, right? We also we tend to create very weak passwords because we want to remember them. And to remember them, they must be simple. But if they're simple, they can be easily cracked. So 70% of the world's most common passwords can be cracked in less than a second, 70 seconds. What are the world's more common passwords? So in NordPass, we release a study every year that is called Top 200 Most Common Passwords globally. And every year, even in 2024, we see that the most common passwords in the rankings are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or password, like the word password itself. That's very worrying, but the explanation is, again, we're humans, and that's how we work, that's how we operate. Other passwords that we see in top 200 are a name of people, name of cities, name of places, name of countries, like plain, like Paris, France, America. Also, even amongst executives, we see simple words like monkey and dragon. It's also interesting to have a look, like how also global events impact how we create passwords. And we had a look around when Paris Olympics were happening, like before, during, and after, and we saw it had quite a big impact. So we looked at some breached, leaked databases with passwords, and many passwords, like we saw a huge increase with the names of athletes, names of sports, names of like venues in Paris or cities in France. So we're humans, right? And the other angle to look at it, it's also from a human perspective, but this time from the hacker's perspective. One of the errors or mistakes that we do is to believe that we are not interesting for hackers, right? Which is true, we are not, but our data is. So our data translates to direct money for hackers. So I would like to take a break here and do a bit of a interactive exercise, like a Price is Right. How much does a German passport do you think it costs on the dark web in US dollars? So I'm going to give you 3 options. We go from $100 to $500, from 10 to 100, and from $1 to $10. So who think it's from $100 to $500? Show of hands. All right. From 100 to 500. Oh, sorry, that was exactly the same. Sorry. From 10 to 100. Okay, a bit more. And from 1 to 10? Okay, I see that some of you have been to the dark web. So the answer is $9.99, which you might say it's quite cheap, right? It is cheap, but you need to think of it in terms of scale. So if you multiply that to 10,000, it's actually quite a good payday for hackers. So it's a bit like they do economies of scale. Right. But how do they actually get this passport, get this data? How they get their hands on it? Well, we need to think of those weak, first of all, of those weak passwords that we just talked about. If your password is weak, then it's very easy to be cracked. And that is done by using dictionary, called like dictionary attacks. So they take a database of already breached passwords or most common used words, even from plain English, let's say like monkey, dragon, whatever, and they just do brute force attack, and they can crack that in less than a second. Another way to do it is through phishing attacks, so they can trick you into logging in on fake websites that they look authentic. As user, you do not realize, but actually you give, even though if you have a strong password, you give it to the hacker, right? And kind of the other vectors of attack is malware. So you download malicious software on your device without realizing, and that software can take important information from your account, from your device, which can be documents, a passport, photos, or even your saved passwords in your browsers. Yeah. Right. So with AI also now coming more popular, we see that the scale of these attacks are increasing. So it's clear that we cannot rely only on passwords to get protected. So we need something that, is resistant to such type of attacks. And we cannot actually say that AI has radically and completely changed cyber attacks. Actually, what we see just expanded its scope, right? Because AI, well, now has become, as we said, more cheaper and more accessible, more smart, more intelligent. So the hackers can use AI to actually craft emails, craft messages, which are highly personalized. Think of ChatGPT. Personalized to use a target by impersonating either a person that you know, someone that you work with, an executive, a famous person. They can take some data out of social media. They make it like you really believe there's really a real person behind that message. They can use chatbots, which they are very human-like in their language, and they can convince a user to reveal sensitive personal information or actually perform actions like making a bank transfer, right? Also, when we talk about AI, it's worth mentioning deepfake, which is something that I'm sure you heard about, right? Deepfakes is when you use technology to impersonate someone. Can be audio, can be photo, can be video. Mostly it's video. And we must mention, there was a case in media that was reported of an employee that he was working in finance, and he was invited to a video call with some of his colleagues and the CFO. And during that call, he transferred $25 million to a bank account at the orders of the CFO. And he didn't know that actually the CFO was a deepfake. So all the colleagues, including the CFO, were just video generated by hackers. There was no real people. So that's quite scary, right? So therefore, we need to think about, we need new technologies. That password is definitely not enough when it comes to protecting our personal information and digital identities. Right, but there is hope. There is a new technology called passkeys, which you might have heard in the last 1.5 years, 2 years. So yeah, passkeys in themselves, like it's not a patch to the system. We're not patching passwords. We take them completely out and we put something new in, which is called passkeys, which they are a set of 2 keys. It's going to be a bit more technical, but I will not go too deep into it. Like a cryptographic set of keys, which are built one for each other. One is a public one is a private. The public one lives on the website server, and the private one on your device. In order to get access to your account, you always need both of them. So the website cannot actually access your account because it needs the private one. And in the case of data breach of the website, if it's being hacked, the hacker only gets access to the public key, meaning they cannot get to your account because they don't have your private key. For that, they will actually need to get a physical access to your device, which is quite hard to do. They actually need to steal your device, right? So that's actually the big revolution on why passkeys are much, much safer than passwords. They're also phishing-resistant passkeys because they're automatically generated. Yeah, they're like a string of random, like 250, even more characters, and you cannot type them as a user, right? It's only like between machines communication, so you cannot be tricked to actually write it down on a website. They're also unique on a website. So one passkey only works with one website. Meaning, in the unlikely case that a hacker gets both of your keys, both the public and the private for a website, the damage is limited to their website. They cannot actually go and access other websites. Like the domino effect doesn't exist. So you can see we're actually really solving all the problems with passkeys that passwords have. They're not only safe, they're also actually extremely easy to use. And they work as 2FA by default, as two-factor authentication by default, because they're protected by biometrics or a device pin. So as a user, the only thing that you experience when you use a biometric is a Face ID on your iPhone or whatever biometric your device has. Yeah, it can be a fingerprint, and that's it. That's how you use a passkey, nothing else. So that's, yeah, sounds quite good. There's a QR code there. It's actually a demo that we have. It leads to one of our websites, and it's quite safe. I mean, you can scan it now or later. It's just to see how passkeys work. It's just going to prompt you to create an account. It's a mocked account that expires in 24 hours, just for you on the device. You can do it now or later. Yeah. Talking about the power of passkeys, it was mentioning that this technology is backed by the FIDO Alliance, which stands for Fast Identity Online, and is an alliance that has at its core Google, Microsoft, and Apple, and all the big tech, and we are also part of it as NordPass. And our mission in FIDO is to reduce the world's reliance on passwords. The movement is growing, and we see quite a big adoption rate. Now many websites that you use actually have passkeys from Google, from Amazon, from eBay, from Facebook, from WhatsApp, TikTok. Now you can use passkeys on those apps and websites. But how do we actually help leading this change at NordPass? We started first because we're a password manager, so we actually manage passwords. We start adding passkey support to our password manager, that the user can actually store, manage, and use those passkeys in their website, so safely in the vault. We saw an impressive user adoption rate, so we as consumer, we are ready for it. However, the companies are a bit not following lead. So well, the big tech I was mentioning, you have Meta, you have Google, and so on, and Amazon. However, not a lot of companies are offering passkeys. So we transitioned as NordPass, and we built a new tool to help those businesses actually offer passkeys to their users, because I think this is the only way to make this technology a success, by working at both ends and bridging the gap between offer and demand. Right. So, yeah, passkeys sounds quite awesome, and it's a really good technology. It's just starting now to pick up, but you might question what is actually next, right? Where do we go after passkeys? Well, I do believe that passkeys actually holds the key of what will come. It will help actually build something that's coming or secure. And I think it's something that we call DDC, or digital decentralized DDI identities. And it will be a big shift in the way we actually think of our digital selves, right? It will basically give the power back to the user. And now not only, we will not rely on third parties, third companies to hold all our data, all our personal data, but rather we as users are going to take control on that, and we will decide with who, whom, when, where, and what to share. That's quite awesome, first because it's a level of privacy which is unprecedented, and control, and also there's no risk of large data breaches, because there's no more one single point of failure. Now the information is decentralized. And passkeys hold the key to that, because they will help us secure those identities and easily manage them. We needed such a technology before we go into direction, because password could not have been something that we could use to protect that. Right. We are coming close to the end, and let's remember, the evolution of technology is a journey, not a destination, right? And the way the TV has evolved all these decades, also our approach to securing our identities must evolve, right? And I believe that the future is bright, and with the right tools is also secure. Thank you. And now we will move to Q&A if there is, any questions. We'll open the floor. So, yeah.
Hello, my name is Sebastian. Thank you very much for the talk, very interesting. Actually, I think changing the password and using like a lot of email accounts, for example, just is a less risk than just one email account with a strong password.
Yes.
Like a lot of attack surface, but with different problems following if it is hacked. So I did not get what's the future now. I mean, okay, passwords changed, new technology with passkeys.
Yeah.
But I mean, the hackers will always have a technological advantage because there's always attack surface.
Yes.
I mean, as a user, as a business manager, getting hacked and your whole company is stopping with the risk associated with being hacked. I mean, you have to deal with it in a way like, okay, it's going to happen. Yeah. And just a fallout analysis, okay, what's the damage assessment? I mean, there is no security. I mean, that's my personal opinion. So just making more accounts, is this a solution for you? More email accounts?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I believe, also as NordPass, we give this option that you can use masked emails for different purposes, right? Like one-time pass emails. That's one way to make sure you reduce the risk, right? Like, don't use the same email to go on a, dodgy website that we'll use for an important account. But is that easy? Like, we need to think also in terms of mass, like of all the population. Not everyone can actually have or has this habit. Just let's create emails every single day. That's why, and it's still a patch to the system, right? We're still patching by trying to trick it, by creating this and there. What we say with passkeys is like, let's stop or let's not try to patch anymore the system, because we understand for decades now it is flawed. The password cannot be the way we secure ourselves anymore. By tricking, by creating a new email, by changing like a character in my password, by doing that all the time, trying to let's just create something that also takes the pressure of us, because that's the passkey. Is like the passkey gives you this peace of mind. You don't need to do all these tricks. That's the difference, right? And that's why for us is the future. I believe this is the future where we should go. Yeah. There was a question here. Yeah. Or
just a small question. Is there any survey existing in the web of websites offering passkeys already?
Yes, there is. And I can actually talk to you after. There's a link I can give to you, yeah? Yeah? Yeah.
Yep. Hi, I'm Michael. I work in the encryption space. And my question is basically that you mentioned we had encryption, then they were able to hack it. And so now we recommend to have all these passkeys.
Yeah.
But what about the data inside the network, inside the devices or the clouds? Do you believe that we should just encrypt all data and then, they can hack it because they cannot get the data, right? It will be encrypted. So would you believe that this is possible, or are we on the way to go there? Yeah.
When you mean to encrypt all the data, I mean, in a certain or up to a point, we already do it, right? Like all your devices, they give you this option to encrypt all your drive. Yeah, you have this option on. We do that personally in our tools. Yeah, we have NordLocker, which is an encrypted storage. Most of the companies now, also cloud, they do, well, actually, I will not talk for third parties, but they should offer this option if they don't do it by default. So in a way, to answer the question, I think we're already there. Encryption, everything encrypted is already there. So we do encrypt everything around us. However, it's worth mentioning that post-quantum is coming very soon. And we're also looking into that, right? Many of today's encryption algorithms are going to be phased or made useless by quantum computers. So I don't know right now how much to protect with the current encryption that we're using. We'll have to look deeper into that. but that's why it's more different angles. One angle is to encrypt it, but also to protect it. Let's first try to make sure no one gets it, but if it gets it, let's make it as hard as possible to actually decrypt it. So yeah, I would say it's a combination for me of both. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day.